There's one. It's weird the Periscope one comes in real quick. YouTube one's less quick. There it is. For those of you that are excited, get even more excited. Here it comes. The debut, live before lock, myself, Fast Eddie Fear. The moment everyone, I think, has been waiting for. I would imagine, right?
Yeah. No, it's like a royal wedding, basically.
It's going to be like the Red Wedding if this doesn't go well. No spoilers. I'm not finished. I'm still watching that show.
Yeah, it's fine. They have some cake. Not much else happens.
Okay. So we got a 3-gamer today. Sixers, Bulls, Wiz, Heat, Blazers, Lakers. Looks like we have all the news that we could be looking for right now.
Yeah, that's. I mean, there's some Mo Harkless uncertainty. Like he's probable, so normally I'd be content with that. But he was probable the last 2 games of the preseason and got scratched with an hour to go. So that could go a little bit sideways. I'm not counting my chickens on Harkless playing till I actually see him awkwardly running up and down the court. But yeah, we've got pretty much everything we need to know.
Yeah, everything we were waiting on was, at least everything that I was waiting on while I was on that NFL show, was mostly Heat stuff, which you have now confirmed to me that there's no Heat stuff to worry about.
No, they have the same players available as they had yesterday. Wade is there and has confirmed he is playing. He's not just available. Wade will get some minutes. This works as a nice segue into something I was referring to, talking with you about in the green room before the show. User 12 Ball NBA sent me a series of Twitter messages after asking for a follow saying, "What is up Josh's butt? You have to ask him about some of the stuff on this earlier show." So I haven't seen the show. And so I'm just going to throw these at you real quick before we get started. The first one is, why is he so much? Tell him to get on off of Tyler Johnson's dick. Now, I'm guessing like me, you thought there was some chance that Wade wasn't going to play. And then with all these other guys out, I would have liked me some Tyler Johnson quite a bit, especially on FanDuel where he's a great tournament pivot and still kind of is away from campaign.
Yeah, I was projecting Dwayne Wade to not be in the lineup. I didn't think Wayne Ellington even had a remote chance at that point to be playing today.
They had him up to questionable for a while. So, I mean, he was yesterday doubtful to today questionable. I still figured they'd just give him the 2 more days, and we'll almost certainly see him. I think they play Saturday. They might play Sunday. But, yeah, no, this is what we expected. But, yeah, Wade's getting in there. It's his last year. I do think it's fair to guess he gets less minutes than we saw yesterday where he ran out whatever it was, 24, 25 minutes, I think.
I'm really surprised he's playing on the back-to-back.
They're I'll go with, you get 16, 18 minutes still, but it does take a little shine off the rose there. Second comment was, hold on, ask him about Dunn versus Redick and why he doesn't know basketball.
Yeah, so I think people are taking that comment in the wrong direction.
Can you tell me what the Dunn versus Redick? One's the point guard who's not playing for Chicago, and the other's the shooting guard for the 76ers who is playing. What's the comparison?
I don't at all remember how we got to the point, but I just said that teams would rather have JJ Redick than Chris Dunn. Like, ignoring their ages and their contracts and things. Like, JJ Redick is, to me, a better basketball player than Chris Dunn.
Interesting. That's interesting because they're both, as far as 2 guards go. I mean,
polar opposites,
separate guards. They're right. They have a lot of different strengths and weaknesses. I mean, Redick is a much better offensive player, moves off the ball as well as anyone I've ever seen. More of a locker room presence. Like, I can see that whole thing. But Chris Dunn is a phenomenal defender, whereas Redick is far from anything like that. And again, Dunn's a lot younger. So okay, I don't have a passionate take there. Like, if your take is specifically that teams would like Redick more, I think you're probably barely right.
Okay.
Like, I think Redick fetches a couple more dollars and fetches more interest on the free agent market in the event of a 1-game deal, if you know what I'm saying. Like, if you make it 2 years, then I think probably people like Dunn more because Redick's, 33 years old.
Yeah, like, I think the smart teams in the league, like Warriors, Spurs, Heat, Celtics, those would be the types of teams that would be like, no, we want JJ. He's going to space the floor and shoot threes, and that's what the NBA is now.
He brings a little bit of Spurs, Warriors to the 76ers. I mean, he really does help them be better in a lot of ways you don't see necessarily in the stat line, and you don't, even see defensively. But his off the ball movement and his efficiency, his lack of wasted movement. I admire him as a basketball player a lot. Does not have a ton of skills, but squeezes every little bit of production out of what he has.
Yeah, I'm not trying to build a team. Like, he's not going to be my first pick in the draft or anything like that. But as a complimentary piece, it's just, for me, it's a no-brainer.
Oh, and then the last thing is I'm supposed to tell you
Oh,
Frank
God.
Mason was supposed to start. I don't know what that means. But Frank Mason was supposed to start.
Yeah.
So apparently there was some impassioned debate about Frank Mason.
Yeah, Adam, I didn't play on DK last night, but Adam said, do you know why Frank Mason had like 25% ownership or something like that? And I said, I certainly don't.
Yeah, no, it was because in theory he was supposed to start. Dave Yeager basically came out after I want to say second to last preseason game. Could have been last one, and said, pretty sure these are going to be our starters in the regular season. And that was with Frank Mason at the 2, and that was widely reported. So I think that was the theory. I still wouldn't have been a massive fan. Obviously, the Jazz, normally not a team we want to target, although the Kings put up whatever it was, 115 points against them yesterday somehow.
Yeah, if you could explain that one to me, I'd love to hear it.
I did a review Periscope, which I do most nights when the NBA is done, and there's 50 or 100 people in there most of the time. And one of the questions I got was, "What were you most surprised by tonight?" And I was like, "How decent the Suns defense looked. How bad I expected Dallas to be really good and put up a good beating on the Suns, who I expect to be an extraordinarily, legendarily poor defensive team. I mean, they have one or two players who are above average on defense on that team, and a whole bunch of guys who are really bad defensive players. And then they cut Shaq Harrison, who was basically their only decent guard defender.
Didn't see that one coming.
And picked up Jamal Crawford, and it just I was like, oh my god! Like I really thought they were going to get boat raced the whole year, and they still may. But Dallas put up, I think, 100 on the nose. That was kind of disappointing for a team that has some real run ability, and you thought you'd see some fun stuff out of DSJ and Doncic. So that surprised me. And then Sacramento, running one of the most dumbfuck rotations I've ever seen in my life, still putting up $115 in regulation against the Jazz, who I am on record as saying I expect to be significantly the best defense in the NBA this year, and best defense you might see this decade. They don't really have any bad defensive players left on that entire team. It's the opposite of Phoenix.
They're fantastic.
They have, if you count the 12 players who will see time on the court for the Jazz, every single one of them is an above average defender in at least one meaning of the descriptive term. Phoenix is almost the opposite. So I was surprised by those two things.
Yeah, the Kings one really just, I didn't think that was even feasible from a scoring perspective, especially with the way that Kings team is constructed too.
Give some credit to De'Aaron Fox, who put up 38 minutes, looked very composed, dealt with some real harassment there. So a lot of it has to do with him playing a game that I didn't think he had in him, and especially at that time, someone I'm going to be keeping an eye on in DFS.
I just couldn't believe their starting lineup.
Wait, so they eventually they changed it twice. So they went with Fox, Farrell, Heald, Bielitsa, Cauley-Stein.
Yes. I was just like,
what's funny is the guys they swapped in there who weren't going to be in there were the guys who they didn't start, who they were going to, were Justin Jackson and Frank Mason. Neither of those guys really deserve to be starting in an NBA lineup either. Like Cauley-Stein, okay. Buddy Hield, okay, I'm there. De'Aaron Fox. But the other four guys we're talking about, no. Like, the hell you think you're doing this year? Give Bagley some time, who played 12 minutes. Give Giles some time, who played 10 minutes. Give Frank Mason some time, who's 21 years old and played 5 minutes or whatever. So they're not quite as ass backwards as throwing 26 minutes a night at Costa Koufis and Zach Randolph in hopes of making the team 26 wins instead of 24 wins, but still some curious choices there.
Yeah, Zebo, just not that kind of guy this day and age.
It's the game has passed him by. He's very lucky he debuted 15 years ago and not today, because he'd be trying to be Bobby Portis instead of being, the face of Memphis.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think we'll take a look at chat right now, but first question, I think we need to start and end with, what do you like about LeBron James tonight? Is he a must? I think he's a must in cash. But he's not owned as much as I expected him to be.
I'm curious where they have the ownership. 60?
I can speak to FanDuel. I can't speak to DK, but I'm pulling it up right now. FanDuel, less than that.
Interesting.
The last update that I put in here, and admittedly this was before I went live for the Showdown show,
Yeah, so again, this is you're and my first time together, and like every first time, there's a rush of excitement just for the new pairing, but it takes a while to get your rhythm down here. So I don't know quite who's leading and who's following in this
Sure.
dance. I'm generally gonna let you steer the boat, but
I
yeah.
think that we can both lead here. It's like a progressive show.
Oh, okay, I like that. That's good. Um,
Ooh, I have an answer for you for DK, and it's significantly below what you just said. We have him at 27%.
that's wrong. He'll be higher.
I agree.
I will come right out and like you want my number right now for DK where he's 10-8? Am I getting that number right? And FanDuel is 11-7.
Is 10-8 on DK. He is 11-7 on FanDuel.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and give you FanDuel. I'm trying to remember all the various other plays you're throwing in there. There's Jay Rich behind. There's the 2 punts. I'm trying to remember how many viable FanDuel plays there are. I think it's 6.
That sounds about right to me. I could list them off for you if you'd like.
Yeah, let's spend a minute on it. It's a 3-game show there.
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
LeBron, Jay Rich. I will count Covington as in play because of his stellar matchup, but that FanDuel price is not exciting. Porter, Parker, that's 5.
Oubre, I guess.
I'm not going to count Oubre. Like, Oubre is a guy you can put in a tournament, but all right, Oubre, like Derrick Jones Jr., kind of, sort of. I mean, he's the punted small forward, I think.
On FanDuel for sure.
Yeah, you can play Green.
I sneakily like Jeff Green today.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad call whatsoever. They like him there. The other guys like him in the locker room. I can't remember who it was. Someone had a ridiculous comment that was like, he's like LeBron. It
was Bradley Beal. We read those quotes this morning on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember who it was, but it was one of the other players came out and was randomly like, yeah, he's like LeBron, just not quite as good.
Yeah. I was like that's a take.
I'm like LeBron, just not quite as good. Again, the differential's a little more significant, but sure, I've played basketball. Anyway, yeah, I don't hate Jeff Green in a tournament if you're gonna punt that position. But I'm gonna go higher on both of those. I'll give you FanDuel 52% and DK 42%. I think we're about there, and unfortunately we won't know during the show because it's the late game. Yeah. But that's it has something to do that the value opening up hasn't been so superlative that it pushes it higher than that. But I think most places you're playing often at least 2 out of the 3 of Simmons, Embiid, and LeBron, who I think are your only reasonable other people could be the top scorer. I'd probably say Lillard has a decent chance of putting up the number that it takes to randomly get on top of them. But those 3 guys I think are your pretty clearly highest projected guys. It's not a very good matchup for John Wall. You like having some of the guys out that they have out for Miami if you're John Wall, but I think generally I would want to be over on LeBron. It's on the road, which you don't like. I definitely think there's a getting hyped thing here that has something to do with it, and I'm not sure where the minutes will be. I wrote down 34. But it ends up being a little site dependent with the other options, and the drop a guy on FanDuel and airplane mode being one of the better punts for that, and doing it at small forward, making a fair bit of sense, does bring him down a hair. But it's a nuanced take. It's stepping back again, looking at the slate in general. The first game, there's concurrent early games, but the Philadelphia-Chicago game is the largest risk of a blowout. We're in Philadelphia, and this is a dreadful Chicago team now missing its starting point guard that can't guard anyone. So it would not shock me to see Embiid and Simmons as the 2 highest scorers on the slate.
Ooh.
Like, if somehow Chicago can keep the game close, and that's an ask. I mean, that's not nothing. But both these guys should be phenomenal. Chicago, not any sort of workable transition defense, not really any kind of defense. Simmons looked obviously all worldly last game. He's going to put up a number, and Embiid, didn't really get any of the breaks last game and still fell backwards into whatever he had, 23, 10, 5, and 2 or whatever for 45 fantasy points. I'm not shocked if this game stays close, if you get 60 and 60 out of those 2 guys. I don't think that's likely. I'd project them for closer to high 40s each, but there's a real ceiling there if this game stays close and you're sort of threatened by the upside. So when you say, how necessary is LeBron? Well, I'm basically deciding if I get 4 quarters out of those guys. If I get 4 quarters out of those guys on almost every site, you're saving some significant money. On DK, you were talking about 10-8 for LeBron.
Yeah.
Embiid's 9-7, Simmons is 9-5.
Yeah.
And there you're getting, triple double bonus for Simmons, which seems some reasonable possibility in this matchup. So it ends up being a little site dependent as to how much you like LeBron. But he obviously looked very good in the preseason, and he's LeBron, and it's not a matchup I'm overly concerned with. So,
Same.
yeah, I don't have a play all, fade all take on any of those guys, but I do think it's important to, if the other two games are much more likely to stay close, to build your lineups with at least in the back of your head, if you're hand building them at least. I think Chicago keeps it close, or I think Chicago takes a giant ass whooping. Yeah. Let me bring my microphone closer. I'm sitting way back again, and that affects my volume. So hopefully I'll be more balanced now. Sorry about that.
All right, let me move you around now.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. We're good. We're good. I can handle it. I'm multi-talented.
I don't think you can handle this. Sorry.
You're good. I'm down on Embiid today.
Talk to me. How you think just Bud Carter's going to shut him down?
No, I just don't think that he's going to be necessary. So I don't see this as a particularly viable game for the Bulls. I don't really see a path for them to hang in this game. I'm speaking in generalities. Obviously, the Bulls can win this game probably 30% of the time or something stupid. But if this game is even mildly out of hand in the fourth quarter, it's just not the spot to run Embiid out to get any additional run there. Whereas I think Simmons can be out there, but you got to wrap Embiid in bubble wrap in game 2 home game against the Bulls that are shorthanded. I don't see it. And right now we have him projected for 32% ownership on FanDuel. I don't want to be anywhere near there.
But that's where we have. Sorry, in those same projections, you have LeBron at 27. Did you say?
LeBron in the updated projections on FanDuel is 44.
Oh, okay. Okay,
which I think is pretty reasonable. I still think I'm going to be over that number, but I think we're getting there.
Yeah. No, we're looking better there. There's. You have to spend your money at a certain point. So you can double play up at point guard and spend that money. But if no one's playing Embiid, and I think one of the reasons I think your Embiid ownership is low is the other centers are a little dicey. You have Whiteside on a back-to-back in what historically has not been a good matchup for him because sometimes it goes small and he gets his ass pulled off the court. Now, He's still underpriced at $7,500, but and I expect him to probably be the most popular center. But after Whiteside, you've got Nurkic, which is obviously, going to be just tournament. Some people will go there. And then you're on Adebayo punt, Jan Mahinmi punt now, since we have D12 out again.
Got a sore buttocks.
Yeah, he's got it's his, the muscles back there. So I still think you end up higher than that. I'm going to guess you get closer to 35% or so Embiid. But I just think I do think he's the lowest owned of these three guys. And I'm not shocked if he puts up a massive, massive number. Obviously, you want the game to stay close, but he's going to be much less owned than Simmons. And I don't know, just because we haven't seen the monster Embiid game in 6 months doesn't mean it isn't potentially there. And I would not be shocked if today it gets busted. They just have no one who can guard him. I mean, Bud Carter's an above average defender. I like what he can do, but he's just not in the class. And Robin Lopez isn't in the class. And God forbid he gets switched over onto Portis a couple times, or it's just going to be a slaughter. Oh God, Jabari Parker's got him in the post. It's just, he could do stuff. He shot very poorly in the preseason. I understand some skepticism, but for me, it's sort of the point where I'm trying to find an edge on a 3-game slate that I think ends up being pretty chalky. And if you're telling me I can get Embiid at 27%, I'm pretty excited about that. If it's anywhere near there, I think there's a greater than 27% chance he puts up 55 fantasy points or more. So I have some interest in Embiid.
Yeah, I have him projected for 49. I've got him as a 93% chance of being a top 2-point scorer at center on FanDuel, which seems pretty realistic.
That seems realistic. It seems maybe even light. You would need, I guess, Nurkic, Whiteside.
Yep, and those two make up basically a coin flip on the other end. But Nurkic is the guy. Only 19% expected ownership. That's the guy that I'd much rather have in a tournament compared to Embiid today, because I think that Nurkic can stay out there and hopefully maybe be out there long enough to take advantage of some non-JaVale minutes.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it comes down to. I definitely think targeting anyone who gets time against the backup front court, the second string front court of the Lakers, is something we're going to want to look at the entire year. And when I was talking about centers, I didn't mention JaVale. JaVale's 4,500 on both sites or something. That has potential, but I don't think he sees. I'll take under 20 minutes. I think 18, 19 is most likely. Maybe get 20, 21. If he's playing really well against Nurk and Nurk is going off, I can see that number going up. But like the Nurkic FanDuel price is tough. I don't want to spend $8,000 on Nurkic. That's $8,000. Like, it's not that he can't destroy that number, but due to you're hoping to get a bargain, and that's like you're paying for peak Nurkic, and I'm not sure we necessarily see that this year. The relationship with Stotts isn't everything I want it to be, so I have some concern there.
And I think that's a reasonable stance.
So do we want to
I'm not comfortable with Nurk in cash. I can say that much.
Yes, no. Nurk cash doesn't. I mean, cash is, for me, you can play Embiid, you can play Whiteside, you can play Jan Mahinmi. I think anyone else in cash is wrong. I think those are your three guys you can play in cash.
I think you can make a case for Bam on FanDuel, 4,300. If the Wizards try to play small now that Dwight Howard is out and they only use Mahinmi and they go to some sort of like Markieff at the 5 type lineup.
Yeah, I mean, what was exciting yesterday
watching
the Heat game was seeing Bam out there next to Whiteside as well. So you even have that as a fallback. Like, Bam was so good, summer league and preseason and all his recent games that that was the most exciting development yesterday for me. Now, that had something to do with how quickly Derrick Jones Jr. fouled out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something we continue to see recur, but he can play that position. And he can defend, Markieff, for example, if he's out there at the 4. If they go small, it's going to be hard for him to defend, Otto Porter or Kelly Oubre, whoever's going to be the nominal 3-4 in that position. But I don't mind Bam, but for me, that is just tournaments. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get 15 minutes. So just cash again for me. I think you can min price Mahinmi, especially if that stops you from having to punt somewhere else. And again, this is FanDuel, so you're in some way more inclined to do that. And, one aspect of the FanDuel drop lowest score thing that I haven't heard talked about as much as it should be is it doesn't incline you towards taking, in my opinion, in tournaments, more upside guys. Like, I like Jan Mahinmi because he can play 26 minutes and get 4 steals and 3 blocks and 33 fantasy points. Like, he actually has a really real upside. Last year he had, I don't know what it was. He had an 8 steals, 6 block game or some absolutely ridiculous monstrosity where he got 50 fantasy points. So, guys like Jan Mahinmi, I don't like punting center, but if you're ever going to get away with it, it's going to be a short slate like tonight. So, for me, I would be into tournaments before I played Adebayo or JaVale McGee or Nurkic.
I gotcha. But I was under the impression that Bam and Whiteside were really bad last year in the times that they played together. It was only 107 possessions, so that's like 50-ish minutes, but they were minus 22.6.
Yeah, they had a really bad net rating their time together. Again, it's a small sample size, and I think they're working with it. And Bam has improved a lot as a player and does look more mobile to me this year, if you will. So I think that, helps. But what I would say is it's going to be better against some teams than others. This isn't a team that's going to be good against. So, I have hopes for it. This isn't but I want to do that against Minnesota. I don't want to do that against Washington.
Sure. I think it's time to go to what we were talking about in the green room before this started. Give me your hot Rajon Rondo take.
I don't know if it's that hot of a take. Like, DK is too expensive. DK is like 5,800 or something. Okay, I can't go there. You asked me I asked you what your minute projection was. You had 21, I had 22. So we're in the same ballpark. You had him at about a fantasy point a minute. I had him for a bit more. He is often a... How confident are you that Ulis sees the court? I'm not at all confident that Tyler Ulis sees the court. I would say more likely than not Tyler Ulis doesn't play. He's going to come in behind Payne, behind Blakeney, behind, I'm going to say this name wrong, Archidiakono. Obviously behind Levine, he's 6th at guard, even with Chris Dunn out there. So I would say it's unlikely that Tyler Ulis plays. But Rajon Rondo. Let me flash it back to May. Do you remember a certain playoff series where people were getting all up and talking about playoff Rondo and how great he was, and they swept the Trailblazers when he was playing for the Pelicans? Remember that?
I do remember. I'm
That
familiar.
wasn't that long ago.
It was not.
And I think 21-22 is the right minutes count. I think it's likely you see something like that, with Ball getting the remainder of the 48, 24-26.
Yeah.
He's 4,500 like on a short slate, and I don't really think the ownership is there. And I think you pretty safely get low 20s, and a lot of the other point guard punts, I guess my reasoning is, I think have a perilously low downside. Like, people are going to play TJ McConnell at 30. I actually have a little section here on punts. So Tyler Johnson, who apparently I have on good authority, you were on his dick earlier today.
I can't get enough of it.
I read it on the internet, so it must be true. Now I think is back into having a 17-minute, 14-point floor.
Yeah.
People are going to play a ton of campaign, and obviously this is a longer discussion, but briefly, there is a real floor there. Besides the fact they have adequate backups, it's a nightmare matchup, and he started several times last year and was not good, and Levine is just going to, I think, pick up a ton of usage. I think I like Levine more than most of the other people I've spoken to today. I just think he takes 24 shots tonight, and you get a lot of him and Portis and Jabari creating their own shots, because executing the offense in this matchup doesn't, to me, I don't think that's going to work that well. So I think there's a real chance that you get 23 minutes of campaign before the blowout, or 28 minutes total, and he gets 17 fantasy points. So he's going to be popular. So your punts are Tyler Johnson or campaign or TJ McConnell. People will play. We still have no Muscala. We still have no Wilson Chandler for that team. So in theory, they'll go small with him again. He got more than 20 minutes yesterday, but didn't do a lot with him, and he's very good at the not doing a lot with minutes. Sure, there's an upside there. TJ McConnell has those random outbursts of 2 fantasy points a minute, but there's a real floor there. And then you give me Rondo, who I would project at like 22 minutes, 25 and a half fantasy points, and he's 4,500. Like, I know he can work in the matchup, and the way I know that is they beat the living tar out of the Trailblazers all of 6 months ago, 4 straight, and he ran point there. So I'm not thinking he has an issue with the defense. So that's my Rondo take there. It's not like I think he's super upside guy. You would need, Lonzo leg aggravation or something where you randomly pull 31 minutes out of him. I don't think they ever play next to each other. Someone said maybe he plays next to him. They're not going to play next to each other. You don't need those two guys next to Ingram and LeBron in the 4 point guard lineup. That is just wacky. But I would rather play him. I'd have to sit here and think for a while, because Rondo in cash in this situation makes my ass hurt a little bit. But I have some strong inclination towards Rondo over those other guys.
I think this is the easiest way to get to Rondo. Rondo 4,500 on FanDuel, campaign 4,000. Rondo projected 15% ownership, campaign projected 47. I think that is those two numbers right there are the numbers that point you towards Rondo in a GPP.
Campaign started 4-6 games last year. I think he exceeded 20 maybe twice. I don't know if he ever got 25, and I'm pretty sure he didn't get 30. I don't have that up in front of me. I could look it up.
He's also bad.
He's not a smash guy. They're coming against 76ers, which is not a smash matchup, and he's going to be playing a lot. Several of those games, Levine wasn't there, and Levine can just execute and get his own shots, and so can Portis, and so can Jabari Parker, and you will get random gunning out of Holiday and shit. And just, I think there's at least some chance that campaign is pretty bad, and I'm willing to, I really just don't want to play campaign if I can avoid it. Because, there's about every other slate I end up talking about a guy like this. I can really see how a floor can happen. I can really see how it cannot work out. I'm not super worried about the ceiling, and he's still popular. So anytime there's a guy who I think is going to be 30, 40, 50% owned, and I think there's a real chance scores 12, I'm desperately trying to play anyone else. So there you go.
He is the chalkiest guy in our ownership projections right now on FanDuel.
Sure. And I'm not surprised. At a glance, you would think, he's basically minimum price. He's going to start. People think he's going to get 35 minutes. I will take the under on 30 all day. I'll take the under on 30 if this game stays close.
I have him at 28.
That's I will take the under on that just because of the possibility of a blowout at whatever that would be 25%, where he absolutely doesn't get it. In a close game, I think you're probably in the ballpark.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not a close game.
Well, yeah,
I'm betting on blowout and in quiet Embiid, which is a risky proposition.
Well, yeah, it's like that's a reasonable take. Like it's fine to like if you're building 100 lineups, you can build 100 lineups to really either crush or get fucked, or you can build 100 lineups and spread your money out so that your range of outcomes is much narrower and you're less likely to make a ton of money or lose a ton of money. Yep. So if you play very, very little Embiid, you're taking a stand. And if Embiid doesn't do well, you're going to profit pretty handsomely. There were a number of guys in the preseason and even yesterday where I was just like, let's just not play this. Let's just not play Jeremy Lin. Like Jeremy Lin's going to be 30% owned. Let's not be the people playing Jeremy Lin. And, that works out sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's a risk tolerance thing. It's like, do you like playing, if you're going to play $1,000 in cash, do you play 50-50s or head-to-heads? If you play 50-50s, you're usually most days, you're going to lose $1,000 or make $900.
Yep.
That's about it. If you play head-to-heads, you get this variation of results where you beat between 0 and 100% of your opponents. So you may get 30%.
Ruh-roh. Eddie, you still there? You're moving ever so slightly, and it looks like you may be doing the shocker with your hand frozen on the screen. I don't know if you could hear me. I'm going to keep talking. Till we get Eddie back, I'm going to look over everything I have here right now. I'm a little more balanced than I would expect, which I'm trying to take at least a little bit more of a look on. I also have CJ McConnell projected for a weird amount of ownership. Do we have him named in a weird way? No dots. Let's put the dots in. We will wait patiently for Eddie to get back. Once he does, we'll get back to what is honestly some really entertaining banter. I'm enjoying this. First show success, I would say, up until connection issues. But Michael Fitch in chat, 766 watching, only 26 likes. WTF. I completely agree, guys. WTF. WTF is right. So, now we've totally lost him. And here he comes. Welcome back, sir.
I reloaded a peer. I don't know what precisely went amiss there. My internet seems fine.
You're all good.
Okay. People are telling me I got some stay away from the lights. But okay.
Everything's gravy. You're coming in crystal clear for me too.
All right. Well, I don't know quite what happened there. I got a do, which somehow we got disconnected on up here. But assuming we're streaming, let's continue on. Are we doing like game by game or player by player? I feel like we're all over the place.
I think we are all over the place. This 3-game slate is kind of weird because.
All right. Well, let's just make sure we leave some time for questions. I don't want anyone to have a burning question that we don't get to because of this. Let me see if I have any other. Let me touch on some guys that we haven't sort of mentioned yet.
Do you have chat open by any chance? Or at least Slack chat open?
I have the premium chat. I'm looking at it right now.
If you would like to catch any questions that you see coming in, shoot them out. That would be helpful to me as we're getting closer to lock.
Okay, are you YouTubing it?
I have everything. I have all chat in front of me right now. All right. Both our Slack chat and the YouTube chat. So if I see any questions that come in from the YouTube chat, I will happily bounce them out. Try to prioritize our Slack chat for all of our lovely members.
Question that just hit. Fast Data, can we get your Wendell Carter take? I'm lukewarm. The price on DK is pretty nice. $4,200. All right, now we're talking where I don't know where the minutes are necessarily going to be, but I'm a little more comfortable with that bargain. On FanDuel, he's a power forward and he's 5,300. There, I'm much more inclined to look other places. I think like in tournaments, I would rather play to hit two birds with one stone. I would rather play Markieff Morris.
Agreed.
Now you have a real chance they do that Markieff at center shindig there with D12 out. Otherwise, you would have had him and Mahinmi, and you don't get as much of that. Now I add about 3 minutes to my Markieff projection. It's a matchup he's been good in before. This isn't a good match. The guys I like in this matchup generally. Between these two teams, who are still fairly similar to what we've been seeing over the last few years. Not a ton has changed with the coaches or how they're running their defenses or how they're running this out. would be Beal and Markieff, were the guys I was generally trying to keep an eye on for the Wizards there. Porter doesn't tend to do terribly well here. Now, his upside portends a bit higher with them missing several of the guys who are better defensively against him. So I still think Porter is in play, but I'm a bigger fan of Beal and Markieff than in a vacuum Wall and Porter, just relative to our current expectations on those guys. Now, so continuing with Markieff, yeah, just the minutes come up a little bit. I don't think the ownership, again, I suspect that he's in the teens. And this is a spot in which he can really get on top of that. I like him more if you're not playing Whiteside, because there's some negative correlation between those two guys. So I'd be more inclined in a lineup without Whiteside. Talking about John Wall, now I project John Wall to be well lower owned than Lillard and Ben Simmons. Basically everywhere you could play those guys. So I have about as much of appeal for him in tournaments as I do those other guys. Obviously, the prices vary a lot. Both Wall and Lillard are very nicely priced on DraftKings. FanDuel, they're proportionately a bit more. But I don't have an issue with you playing anyone in the starting lineup. Beal, especially on DraftKings at 6,800. I'm a pretty big fan of getting some Beal in there. There, I'd be more interested in him probably than Zach LaVine, though I don't have a problem with you playing both of them. What's your take on Zach LaVine? Because I talked about him for a bit and you didn't come back on that.
So Zach LaVine's a guy I get wrong a lot, and I think it has to do with the fact that I think he sucks.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so this is going to be a real hot take that I don't think most people are going to be on, but I am. I actually, and this is a dollar for dollar play, not just like an overall ceiling play. I'd rather have Justin Holiday.
I don't have an issue with that. Justin Holiday is like 4,300 on DK and not terribly dissimilar on FanDuel.
Yeah, he's 4,500 on FanDuel. I think the minutes are going to have to be there just because of Dunn being out and Denzel Valentine being out. So I don't love Justin Holiday, but at 4,500 on a shooting guard position where I'm not really comfortable with anybody from top to bottom. I like Beal, I like McCollum, but
the last lineup I built on DK that I was toying around with had Justin Holiday in it. Like he was last man in for me when I had that much money.
Yeah.
He is cheap enough, and the minutes are going to have to be there. So I'm fine with that take. I generally I like Fultz a little bit more, and there's some negative correlation between those two. Fultz is a little too cheap on DK. If you think this game blows out, Fultz I think is out there at the end and getting a big bit of usage in that unit. So that's sort of I'm not sure this game goes great play is playing Fultz, who will get all his time in the first half because he starts and plays more there, and then because the first game of the season he played 21 minutes in the first half and 3 in the second, or literally, I think that might have been it. So you're looking at a real possibility where he plays 18 minutes in the first half, and then they're winning by 32 at the end of the third quarter, and he plays the entire fourth quarter, and you end up getting 30 minutes Markelle Fultz. So I would rather do that if placed between him and Justin Holiday. But Holiday over LaVine isn't blasphemous to me. I think LaVine does have an enormous upside. Like you could randomly pick up 27 shots out of LaVine. But I like taking one of these gunners from this team because there's going to have to be some production there. But I like Justin Holiday, and for the same reason I like Jabari Parker. Jabari Parker's 5.2. If you're picking that game to blow out, I think he's out there at the end, or at least for some more extended period of time. And another guy who can make his own shot without having to have a fully functional point guard out there. So I don't find your take blasphemous or entirely unreasonable.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, no, that's I'm fine with that. I'm trying to think of other guys to talk about. So I'm going to go through the premium chat first. When I have this clear, you can take some YouTube questions because the people who are paying money get angry.
Yeah. So you were talking Beal though. I'd like to touch on this quickly. You prefer Beal pretty significantly over CJ?
Slightly. I wouldn't go with pretty significantly.
Okay.
I think I would have Beal projected for about 1.5 more, but I also feel like the ceiling is a touch higher. So I'd like Beal more, but if I'm playing 100, I was going to say if I'm playing 100 lineups. If I'm playing 100 lineups and I'm playing one of them and 50 of them, I have 31 Beal. I have 31 Beal and 19 McCollum or something. Like I don't think it's so close that I would be willing to just say, yeah, all in. It's a vastly superior play. I need to see more about how this Lakers team rolls itself out. Like a lot of what I do is analysis based on watching lots of video and projecting rotations and really knowing how guys are going to match up with guys.
Yeah.
So I like Caldwell Pope's defense on McCollum, which I've seen plenty of in the past, and that's one thing that has me slightly down. But yeah, so I slightly prefer Beal, but not to the extent that I'm like, oh, I'll completely get rid of McCollum.
Okay.
Like I like having some exposure to Wall and Beal and a lot of those 7, 8, 9K players, because I think a lot of people will default towards like heat value, stacking two of LeBron, Embiid, and Simmons, and those guys end up being proportionately lower owned than they should be. So it's not like yesterday where I pretty strongly landed on the best lineup construction on DraftKings being all the 7 and 8K guys, and that ended up being largely true. You had Anthony Davis went off for 77 on DraftKings. So yes, he clearly was going to be in there, but you didn't want any of the other two guys because it was just a night where I was pretty sure there were a lot of guys between $6,000 and 8,100 who were going to put up 40 to 50 fantasy points, and like 13 of them did. So that construction made a little more sense for me. Tonight, I think it ends up being something similar because, again, I just think Simmons ends up being super high and LeBron ends up being super high for obvious reasons, or high enough that I think those guys are proportionally a little bit more advantaged. So, yeah, no issue with McCollum. Moving on to other questions here. Who would you play at center on DK and cash? I don't have a problem with playing Bud Carter in that position. But let me look at a couple other options real quick.
Bobby Portis.
Yeah, Bobby Portis at 5,700 makes absolutely plenty of sense for me. I don't think not really a lot of options I'm thrilled with here at center. Bobby Portis at 57, I'm just fine with. He's just too cheap for minutes and role on this team. Like he's a $600 player in that body. I think I can get behind Whiteside, but I would prefer each of those other two guys more. Mahinmi at 46 is too much. So yeah, it really comes down to basically those guys. So I would say, yeah, Portis. I don't have a problem with Bud Carter at 4,200. You're kind of punting it, but he's going to start. I think he gets 20-something minutes. I'd rather do that than Mahinmi at 46. So yeah, for me, I would play Carter, Whiteside, Embiid. I don't think would necessarily be wrong. So probably Portis my favorite. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. He's just he's too cheap.
Yeah, no, he's just one of those guys who I was talking about. Like, look, the guy's just too cheap for there's one guy every once in a while where I'm like, look, this guy is just for what he's going to do with this team. It's not that I love the matchup. It's not anything else. He's just too cheap for what he's going to do. Bradley Beal at $6,800 is too cheap. Like that's just too cheap for Brad Beal. He's going to cost not that much more, 74, 7,500 when things normalize, but that number is too little. You can make an argument Ben Simmons on DK at 9,500 is just underpriced. Yeah. Like he's gonna be threatening triple doubles frequently this year the way this team is constructed. So
yeah, 11K on FanDuel is a much different price point with Lillard and Wall. Not like Lillard $1,100 less,
and he has turnover issues, and you're not getting triple double bonus, and you're like that is a far right. And then you have Lillard and Wall for shaving. So yeah, that's a much different thing. Simmons. On DK, hard to get away from. More premium chat. Is Lance worth a GPP play? Yes, I think you want a blowout. He's not out of play. He is one of those plays you're going to get at 3%, and you're hoping something weird happens to win a GPP. So like you're taking a real risk, and you're dealing with a real chance of 14 minutes, 11 fantasy points. But he wouldn't be out of play for me. You know what I'm saying? Like there's like solid plays I love. Tournament plays who have some sort of safe floor and have a real upside and are going to be 10, 15% owned. And then I'm going to try to win $100,000 on a 3-game slate and I need to do something a little crazy, but still are reasonable to play in a tournament. And Lance falls in that third category for me.
I don't know what to make of him.
I don't know what to make of this whole goddamn team. Like literally we signed LeBron. Now we're going to go get Rondo and JaVale and Lance and Beasley. Like I honestly that was a very, we're living in a simulation moment for me.
I just don't I don't understand why you don't just keep Brook Lopez. Is that not like a really great option for them?
Actual situation that maybe led to that. I want to burn through some more questions. Magruder or Holiday, DK, GPP. That's for me is definitely Holiday. He'll be a little bit lower owned than Magruder, and there's a bit more of an upside there. Magruder is sort of a filling guy. Your Ellington is still out. You still have an upside with Magruder where you can bang 5 threes in 6 attempts and randomly put up 29, but I would slightly prefer Holiday. How about you?
I agree. I would prefer Holiday there.
In tournaments. DK Cash, Lillard and Derek Jones Jr. or Wall and Magruder. There I'll go with Wall and Magruder barely. Derek Jones Jr., concerns me a little bit. I do think the most likely scenario is he plays 20 minutes again tonight, but that's hardly set in stone. I do think this game moves, 3,400 for him, freeing up some space. So I'll and Wall a little bit safer than Lillard. Like weirdly enough, I would give Will. I think Lillard has a higher ceiling and a lower floor than Wall in general in these matchups.
Yeah, I would lean towards the Magruder combo there over Jones. Now that all of the Heat news is out.
Yeah, and he said cash. That's why I'm pretty sure their campaign projected for nearly 80% ownership on DK. How much would you want? I would play 0. Now that's just me. Again, I'm making the statement that I am kind of punting the evening if he puts up 36 or something, which will happen 6% of the time. But if I thought he was anywhere near 80% ownership, I in my head had him at about 70 was what I thought I would see. So I'll throw that out there. I'll put my spoon out there on that number. But yeah, I will punt with Holiday instead. I'll play Bud Carter. I'll play Markelle Fultz at 45. I'll play Jabari Parker at 52 to save some money. Like there's just other places I would rather play than campaign. Mahinmi or Whiteside FanDuel cash? My answer to that would be yes. Okay. Yes, I think you've correctly identified 2 of the centers you can play there. Did RG die again? I hope not.
Hopefully.
For their sake. I've been there. That always sucks when that happens. Saric or Keefe DK GPP. At this point, I would go to Keefe, but I really like Saric. Like his minutes are going to come down a bit this year, sort of as the flow-through effect of having Fultz pick up time. So you're going to get more 26 minutes than 29 minutes, but there is a real upside. The matchup is stellar, and he was absolute dog shit the first game. So he's going to be like 11% owned. I like Saric a lot.
I have a ton of Saric.
Yeah, and I loved him in the first game and foul trouble, only got 23 minutes, missed every open three-pointer, shit all over me. It was one of the couple guys I got wrong that night. But yeah, so I will slightly take Markieff as someone I prefer to play, but I'm, do your thing in tournaments. I really like both those guys. Need a Rocco take, please. It's Robert Covington. He is not a terribly predictable quantity. Beyond the fact that, believe it or not, he is better in bad matchups, as strange as this is. And I think you can make an argument based on the fact that when the rest of the team can do its thing pretty easily, he ends up not being as involved in the offense. But when they run into a tough matchup, you get more Rocco taking 3-pointers, and he just seems to hit his upside randomly in tougher matchups more frequently. So I'm a little bit disinclined based on the fact that it's a cake matchup, and I just tend to see the standard guys for that team slaughtering. Like Saric can just get his, and Simmons can just get his, and Embiid can just get his. So, but that being said, there's still the upside of steals falling into his lap. And again, the DK price is $2,000 less than the FanDuel price. So there's nothing wrong with playing Robert Covington in any tournament lineup.
Yeah, I'm trying to use him a little bit, actually. The Bulls were really, really bad in terms of 3 frequency last year. I think they were 29th in the league in giving up threes. And I mean, I'm just going to hope that sort of math works out in Covington.
Yeah, he's also underpriced. Like, he is such a volatile quantity that it almost doesn't matter, because he's still going to give you 10 or 20 or 38. But 4,700 is still too cheap for Rocco, especially in this matchup. So FanDuel, I'd be making 20 tournament lineups till he got in the first one, I think, maybe 10. But DK, there's even in cash, it is not the most insane thing I've heard in a great matchup. I wouldn't do it, but he's really underpriced. Like, he's a $5,800, $5,900 player, and he'll amortize out to that within 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, there's again, DK, which is where I assume you're asking. Need to go team by team next show. Some people don't like the format. Zach Collins or Swanigan? Zach, I would prefer over Swanigan based on how that game plays out and speed and stuff. Don't particularly like either of them, but I would play Zach Collins over Swanigan.
Agreed.
Oh my God, we have a 3-way. Okay, Portis and Magruder, Nurkic and DJG, or Carter and Saric.
Portis and Magruder, I think.
I would play Carter and Saric.
Was that cash, you said?
He didn't say specifically. I always assume tournament unless they say. I don't mind any of them, let me say. Portis Magruder, I'm fine with that. Nurkic DJJ, I'm fine with that. And Carter Saric, I'm fine with that one too. So I think I'm most inclined towards Carter Saric of those 3, because I really want to get Saric in there.
Sure.
but I don't have a strong preference there. I think those are all fine GPP pairings. Covington or Sarge is Sarge for me. If price is no issue, I mean on DK there's I think an $800 differential, but for me just raw points and tournament, and I would just play Sarge.
Same.
Levine and Jeff Green or Portis and Covington or Holiday. I'll punt that to you. The Bills will start paying Levine, Holiday, Portis, Carter Jr. That was what we knew, but thank you for confirming it. 1.6. Go ahead, give us some YouTube questions. I've mostly repeat your premium questions if I haven't seen them yet.
Go with one or two more. I'm pasting my lineups in right now. I'm going to upload and then I'm good to go.
Oh, okay. That's right. That's one of the. See, it's nice for me to have you here because I can get breaks when I need to do news searches and other things.
Yeah. Once I upload this, I'm done and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, Whiteside and Wall or LeBron and Carter in cash.
Whiteside and Wall for me.
I mean, right? But there is some, like, Wall is very cashy. LeBron is very cashy. I can see ways both Carter and Whiteside disappoint. And generally in cash, I'm going to look towards the cheaper guy to disappoint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if Whiteside disappoints, your night's pretty well fucked. If Carter disappoints, well, you're probably 6 points off the pace because he only costs $4,200. So in cash, where I'm worried about a guy on each side and roughly as worried about the two of them, I'm going to take LeBron and Carter because if Carter screws up, I'm really still in the fight. And if Whiteside screws up, I'm probably hanging him up for the night.
Yeah. Alrighty, I have my lineups in. Now I just need to pray that FanDuel's like, I appreciate you for uploading early.
Someone said, I can't watch this. It isn't very helpful.
Well,
people like it should have gone game by game. Were there lots of things we should have covered we did not? I'm trying to think of
on a 3-game slate. I mean,
right. I think this may be more interesting because you're sort of on like an 11-game slate. You have to either go positions or players, positions or games. You can't really dance like we're doing.
No, it's more holistic on a 3-game slate.
Like we covered almost everything. Like we didn't talk about. Like I'm going through the players in my head. We talked about everyone on Miami. We talked about Derek Jones 8 times. Talked about Josh Richardson 4 times. Talked about Whiteside a few times. Guess we didn't mention Dragic. I think Dragic has some merit as a tournament play. I wouldn't have a problem with this. Well, I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's very meh.
More than
the ownership will be nice on a back-to-back with no one there. So if you want to play Dragic in a tournament, I wouldn't object. But I guess we didn't make a Dragic. I guess that would be a reasonable objection. There were a couple players we didn't mention. We didn't mention Dragic. We didn't mention Al-Farouq Aminu.
No, we didn't.
So there's a few guys. We didn't mention Kyle Kuzma. So you got takes on any of these guys, go ahead and throw them out there. If we had strong takes, we would have mentioned them. I guess is the one thing I would say in response to your criticism.
Yeah, we can't talk about everybody.
On any of these guys, we would have run out and said, well, you know who I don't like, or you know who I like. So our absence of commentary can be taken as sort of a meh.
Yeah, but if we don't talk about it, assume we're indifferent.
Right. Which is, and those are guys, using both those guys as examples. Yeah, they're guys who, if I saw in your tournament lineup, it'd be like, that's fine. They're going to be low owned. They do have an upside. They do have a floor. I'm very meh on those guys. Kuzma, I'm very meh. You want to punt with Michael Beasley? Yeah, I'm very meh. If you want to play Josh Hart, 4,200, 4,300, I'm very meh. You know what I'm saying? So I take your criticism, and it is important, but I think this is an interesting format as well.
I think I have too much Jabari. There's a take for you.
What'd you say?
I think I have too much Jabari. There's a take for the crowd.
I like Jabari a lot. I think it's a fine pivot spot. I think if this game gets out of control, they let him go out there and eat because I think they care a lot about his happiness at this point. Like they know he's pissed and they've got tens of millions of dollars on the line with him. So if they're like, oh shit, we're getting crushed. Well, let's at least let Jabari go get his 20 and 10 would not shock me as an attitude.
I hope he does. I'll double the field on our projected ownership right now on FanDuel. So I'm on Team Jabari tonight.
Yeah. Someone just asked, the Heat are starting the same starters as well. They're starting Dragic, Richardson, Magruder, airplane mode, and Whiteside. So airplane mode, much more exciting now that he's starting again. So I will say, slight boost to him, 3,400 on DK. Punts on FanDuel, I don't think I specifically read my list. I'd like Rondo at point guard, which feels weird having a $4,500 punt. If you make me play one of the others, it's probably Cameron Payne. You can Tyler Johnson or TJ McConnell. At shooting guard, it's just Magruder, basically. You could do Blakeney in a tournament instead. At small forward, it's probably Derek Jones Jr. at this point. Jeff Green makes sense in tournaments. That's probably about it. Power forward, it's probably Amir Johnson at this point. It's Amir or Jason Smith or Zach Collins are the three guys I can possibly see doing, but it's not a position I'm thrilled with punting at this point.
Yeah.
There's just no great punts. And at center, you're punting Jan Mahinmi, or I guess in theory you could count Adebayo or JaVale McGee. But there are your punts by position on FanDuel. I made that little worksheet. I should use it.
I agree with literally every one of the punts that you just listed. I have parts of most of those guys, and the power forward guys, the Collins, Johnson, Jason Smith, are guys that I'm not touching. So we're on the exact same page there when it comes to.
No, I think we have a good breakdown of the slate. It may work, it may not work, but again, I would want to be overweight on Sarge. I would want to be overweight on Markieff. I believe in Jay Rich, I think a little more than you do. We sort of differ there. I believe in Levine a little more than you do. I think we sort of differ there. I like Rondo on FanDuel, where you're less of a fan. I like Fultz a lot on DK at that price. I like Jabari Parker on either side, as I think that they could randomly fall into that. Markieff again. I like Beal. Justin Holiday, we both have some interest in. We didn't talk specifically about Lonzo on DK. I think he's a very good tournament play. Sorry, we didn't do that either. Lonzo at 5,400 is I'm a pretty big Lonzo fan. I don't know if you're in the Lonzo camp. He's pretty polarizing, but I like Lonzo and his abilities at that price.
So I'm a big fan of Lonzo in general. I don't know how I feel about him today.
Sure.
He would be a guy that I would be indifferent to. If someone said, I'm really going to go with a lot of Lonzo tonight, I'd be cool with that. I just want to see how it works in a real game first.
That's fair. I think I'm a little more optimistic than that and a little more excited than that, just based on the fact that, I think he plays 26 minutes, and so do you.
Yep. And
I think he can get 40 in 26 minutes. He's a really good fantasy basketball player.
Yeah.
He can do steals and blocks. 26 minutes, he can get a double-double along with some, his shot is ass, and hopefully it improves, but not a small amount of. So I legit like him in tournaments on DraftKings. I will use the word like. I will put that strong of a thing on him.
7:59. We got a minute until lock. People
Levine
get that stuff
Jay
in.
Rich. Levine in tournaments, Jay Rich in cash for me. I think KCP or McGee in cash. That's really close for me. I'll probably take Kentavious Caldwell-Pope there. 28 minutes of that versus 18 minutes of JaVale.
Yeah, I would take KCP there.
McGee or Carter in cash, again close. I will take Carter,
Same.
but not overwhelmingly so.
I'm gonna regret not having a weird amount of Jeff Green tonight. I just have this odd feeling that he's gonna play like 22 minutes or something dumb.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how he slots into this lineup on this team. With all that they have going on, but I think he's a fine tournament play. Again, he's in that. I like him a little more than, say, Lance. We were talking about that category 3 type of player. I would have Jeff Green a hair ahead of Lance. I think it's a little more likely Jeff Green gets there.
Yeah.
And I think the ownership is probably even a little bit better too.
I feel like Jeff Green is such a Scott Brooks guy.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that take either. Again, D12 being out opens all sorts of stuff. We didn't mention Kelly Oubre. I would have liked him a little more with the knowledge that D12 is out. Like his minutes projection for me pokes up from 23 to 25. And again, he's in that category 3, even with a safer floor because he's a guaranteed role. So,
Is it weird that I like Oubre more if Howard plays?
It seems weird to me, but I'm listening to your rationale. Offhand, I think he gets more minutes if Howard is out, and I want the minutes. So I'm curious what your counter philosophy is.
I feel like they're more likely to play Jeff Green and maybe Jason Smith with Howard out. And if Howard were in, they would just sort of stick to their normal rotations and then still be playing Oubre. Like, I don't know what Oubre's benefit would be in that scenario.
I understand your reasoning, and I think it applies, but it is, to me, less relevant than just the opening of the minutes.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Like, It just the open. I don't think Dwight Howard was playing more than 20 minutes, but the addition of those 20 minutes, you know, 5 of which go to Mahinmi, who now plays 30 minutes maybe instead of 25 or something, and 3 or 4 of which go to Markieff. I think a lot of that goes to Oubre, and then you get Jeff Green coming from 13 to 17 minutes, and you get Jason Smith coming from 9 to 14, and you get things like that. So I get your point, and I think your point is correct, but I would weight it less highly than I would the minutes expectancy.
How many minutes do you think Mahinmi plays?
I think he plays pretty significant minutes. I'll put him right now at I had him at the start of the day. If Dwight Howard played, I thought he was going to play 20 to 22. So now the way I put out the rotations, I'd have 25, 27.
Okay. I'm a little lower on Mahinmi's minutes.
That is a real possibility. It's just how much they go small is really what it comes down to there. Whether or not they give, Jason Smith center time, which is something they've done and they've talked about, and how much time Markieff gets, and if Markieff randomly gets ejected in a minute and a half. I mean, there's a lot of variables there, but I think you get some decent time out of Mahinmi because it also depends on how well Whiteside establishes himself.
Yeah.
Like if Whiteside's in there and they're going to Whiteside, and Whiteside has been the Whiteside he was for most of the preseason and thus far in the regular season, they kind of have to leave him out there because like Markieff is not going to be able to guard him. So they got to put a body on the dude. Jason Smith isn't going to be able to guard him. So there's a lot. I can see it being low. If at the end of the day you see 17 minutes of Mahinmi, I'd be like, yeah, that was possible.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, Derek Jones Jr. is apparently 4.4%. Yeah, let's look at that. That was fun. I take feedback from the I work for you guys. With very rare exception, my job can be most easily described as doing what the people who see the show want to see. And I weight everyone who's a paying subscriber about 5 to 1. So especially people in the premium chat, if you're like, shit, I didn't like this format, I send me. If you like the format, tell me that too. Because if only people complain when it's negative and 4 people complain, that didn't help me if 188 people liked it. So
right.
I'll take all the feedback you can throw at me. I definitely think there were pluses and minuses of it. I think the organic conversation takes you places you may not get otherwise, but you don't get a mention on Kyle Kuzma. So I can totally see someone liking or disliking the format. So much respect.
Yeah. On a 3-game slate, I find it hard to go on a team-by-team basis because so many guys are dependent on other things in your lineup because of options being limited. So I think it's really easy to talk about a team on a 10-game slate because they can kind of exist on an island. But like the way that you talk about, what would be a good example? Like the way that you talk about Dame Lillard today at 9,900 on FanDuel, has a direct relationship with how you feel about John Wall, and those guys are in 2 separate games.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of game by game or position by position is sort of an eternal debate in the touting.
It is
thing because I tend to prefer game by game a little bit because they're both missing huge chunks of information. So as you mentioned, if you just talk about game by game, you aren't comparing Damian Lillard to John Wall, which you should be. Now, done correctly, while, by the way, Cameron Payne, 53.6%. So lower way lower than the 80 that was thrown out there, way lower than the 70 I thought. Ben Simmons only 46%. I'm pretty excited about half the field not playing Ben Simmons. Covington 39%. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm going to start checking mine.
We know what happens when they're like, we already had Covington Cash Day. People have not learned their lesson, so just take one more of those. Like, you will learn. John Wall, 37. Brad Beal, 33. Saric, 32. So people hung in there. Embiid, 31. So yeah, we were right about there. Portis, only 30. Okay. Mike, I'm excited about that. Whiteside, 26. Levine, 24. Yeah, I like that. Justin Holiday, 22.5. Bud Carter, only 18. Fultz, only 18. I like that. Porter, 17. Jay Rich, only 17%. That was one of the reasons, I didn't think people were going to adopt as much as they should. What was amazing is people that last game was an aberration. Well, kinda. He had only a steal and a block, and that's about what he averages. So, that wasn't disproportionate. He shot 2 of 10 for 3. He underperformed as far as what he put up as far as shooting stats go. And after the game, he was talking about, I felt really good about those shots. And Spoelstra came out and gave a fairly long comment on yes, I want him to be more of an alpha guy and be comfortable shooting. I loved all those shots. I want him to shoot more. This is all stuff I really like to hear. So, it is weird to see like $6,900 Josh Richardson in a non-ideal matchup and be like, maybe that's well, first of all, it's nice, but
Yeah.
also 6,900 Josh Richardson is it is odd to see the world change so quickly in 6 months that all of a sudden that seems like it might still be good. But I think that might still be good. It's hilarious if you flash back a year. My biggest bugaboo in October and November of last year was Josh Richardson. He was 51, then 47, then 4,500. And I kept going, look, this guy is he's one of the best players on that team. He can shoot. He's a very good steals guy. He's a very good shot blocker for a guy at that position, especially with Whiteside, sort of dumping on the team at this point. I think there's a real chance that this guy, he just didn't do it 9 times in a row. And so we got into shows and I went, Josh Richardson's $4,300 now. I think he's an amazing tournament play at that price. Somehow he's going to disappoint us. I can't tell you why yet, but so it's hilarious that a year later, with a very near identical team, he was like 6,900. I'm like, yeah, I think that's good. So, but that happened. Jabari Parker 15%, love that. Markieff 12%, love that. Magruder only 10. Jan Mahinmi only 7.7. Oubre only 5.5. Tyler Johnson managed to extract himself from your backside, 4.3. Antonio Blakeney, 4.3. Airplane mode, 4%. Pretty exciting. Jeff Green, 3.6%, in case you're curious.
Okay. I am apparently very overweight on the Wizards. I have a lot more Wall than the field on FanDuel and a lot more Beal.
Well, I mean, they haven't played in 8 days. And
Porter.
They have a road-tripping Heat team missing 5 guys coming to town, including 2 excellent defenders who would normally see a giant pile of time. And when you take Justice Winslow and Johnson out of a game, this team gets demonstrably worse defensively. And then when they're like trying to give 25 minutes to airplane mode, like I think that may have been underestimated by the crowd in general. 0.5% for Chris Dunn, by the way. 1% for Dwight Howard. Congratulations, you played yourself.
25% for Justin Holiday in this tournament on FanDuel. That is way higher than I was imagining.
He's the 2 there, not the 3 on FanDuel.
He's a shooting guard.
He's a shooting guard?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, talk to me about some FanDuel ownerships while we're still on the air.
Yeah. Goran Dragic, 22.9. I have a little bit more than that. Like I said, Justin Holiday, 25. Portis, 49. That's a lot of Bobby Portis. That's more than I was expecting there.
That's about what I would have guessed, just because the power forward is, I mean, there wasn't a ton going on there. Like, power forward was Portis, Ingram, Markieff, who again I bet is probably also around 25. I bet you get like 25 Markieff, 35 Ingram at that price. What'd Markieff end up?
Searching here. I know.
Maybe lower than 25 if you can't find one.
Jason Smith, 2. Markieff, where are you hiding, buddy? Still none.
Yeah, let's play ownership game.
24.
24? Okay, so I said 25. I'm feeling fine. Let's play ownership game on FanDuel. Query me with some dudes. I'm ready.
Okay. Campaign.
Coming right at the heart of me. Especially with their drop, I think people get more excited. I will say 60.7%.
Ooh, you're way high. 35.
Wow, that's one of my worst misses in the history of ownership game. Really? I guess Simmons, Wall, Lillard, Rondo, of course. Some people saw the light. 35. Yeah. Nice. I don't hate him as much.
JJ Redick.
Yeah, you get a nice low number on that guy. 13.
15.
15?
Yeah. Josh Richardson.
Let's see. Sorry, I just got to go through the options every time.
Yeah.
36.
33.
Okay.
I have a lot less than that.
Fair.
Which makes me happy since I'm on the Wizards too, apparently. So it looks like I took a stand that I didn't notice. Levine.
Similar, I think. 30. I'll say a little less. 34.
30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes sense.
Magruder.
Let's see, people pay up for him. I'll say a little less again. 28.
25.
Okay, I'm 3% high on everybody.
This one's interesting. Might be an error in my spreadsheet.
Wow.
Wendell Carter.
He's power forward there. 5,300.
Yep.
19.
He's 14.6. We projected him at 24, and I don't have any.
Yeah, I mean, one of the questions I didn't get to in the premium chat was odds he fouls out. They're not bad.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
He's going to have a lot of Ben Simmons coming in 100 miles an hour and Joel Embiid standing on his head. So,
speaking of Ben Simmons,
yeah. Well, let's see. You already told me campaign was less than I thought, so I'll bump Ben by a few percent. 43.
39.7.
Okay.
I have 15.
Yeah. Again, it's especially on FanDuel. I think I like you being under there.
Okay. That makes me happy.
I think I would feel good if you were under there. I guess the only on let's see, you gave him that game market. What did Mahinmi end up being owned? Like 20?
I think it was like 12 when I saw it.
12, really? I'm pretty excited about that.
FanDuel makes it so hard to do this.
Yes, they don't have download a spreadsheety, do they?
Mahinmi, 11.9.
Wow. Okay.
I have 14, so.
Yeah, you're in there, and that seems about right. So you're going to have some big-ass chunk of Embiid and Whiteside.
12. I have 12% Embiid.
Yeah. What is the field's going to be a lot higher than you?
Yeah, 24.
24? I would have thought even higher. You were a good call on that. I would have thought it would have been higher there. What about Whiteside? So 45?
Low 30s.
Interesting.
32 and a half.
Yeah, I guess some Nurkic and some JaVale fill that out.
No others that are really standing out to me as like super weird.
Cool.
Bam is 6. I have more than that. I think that's too low.
I do too. I'd want to be over on that. That's good. Yeah, I was there with you on that. I think there's more ways that works out than doesn't work out. I'm curious what Kelly O was, because like FanDuel, I think his price was stupid high, and last game he played 10 minutes or whatever the hell he played.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a spot where he's gonna mash today.
Right. I think that's like I would have had some interest in tournaments there. And again, I guess if we're being honestly critical of the show format, I don't think we quite got to that.
I don't have nearly as much Olynyk as I think I should in hindsight. Dwayne Wade.
$18.
9.
I don't hate it. What was his number? I couldn't think of it offhand, so I was sort of fumbling out.
48.
Yeah, that's, meh. I do think the minutes come down, but 9%, I'd be pretty happy with that. Like, it's not like, shooting guard is a wonderland. Like, once you get past McCollum and Levine, it's a bit dicey in there.
Yeah, we had him projected a lot higher than that. 9%. I'm kind of surprised it's that low.
Yeah,
but I also didn't like him, so I don't know. I guess I just wanted more people to have him.
Yeah, there's. I mean, all those guys were out again. Ellington being out again, I would want to be over at 9. 15, 19, 20, like we thought. I'd have wanted to be under 9%. Yeah, there's enough of an upside there on a 3-gamer. I'd have wanted some of.
0.9% Chris Dunn.
Yeah, congratulations. You played yourself.
I think that's it. I think we've hit everybody.
All right, unless you got any pending questions, I have sated my thirst for NBA talk for the moment.
You and I both. Ooh, Robin Lopez 2.4. That one's crazy.
I mean, not insane, but Carter fouls out in 7 minutes.
I just don't think they'll play it. They'll just play more Bobby Portis.
Yeah, I think that is also. I mean, it depends. Like, Embiid's a big body.
Yeah.
Like, if they just keep throwing it down there, like, they're going to have to throw Felicio out there or something to to do something like it. You will just, and people just mash if they're like, we'll go with Portis at center. Oh my God. Like, yeah, he would get anything he wanted around the rim.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. We should do this again, and I have a feeling we are.
Well, we will do it again. Monday.
Monday, we're off until then. I have Spags tomorrow and Saturday.
I think you might be solo Saturday.
Nothing like a nice 10 gamer by myself. Thanks.
Is that what it is?
It's significant. I don't know if it's 10, but it's a number. It's
maybe it's me. I might just be wrong.
It's not you.
We'll have a non-on-air production meeting. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. It was a good time. Let's make some money tonight.
All right. Send us your tweets.
Like and subscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, like and subscribe. 1, 2, 3. I'm counting the games. Here we go. I need some counting the games music, please, Paul. 1.
And we're